Hi everyone, in this Framer tutorial we're gonna create these really nice looking scroll variant animations with these 3D flipping cards. As we scroll down, the card that belongs to that section takes its place in the background with a nice 3D flip animation showing the icon of that section. You can find both starter and finished file links in the description. So let's get started. I'll start with mentioning the pre-made elements. I almost always have some of them to keep the tutorials shorter, and they are usually static elements, but this time I needed to include a card component in the banner section. And I assigned its icon to a variable, as you see here, to be able to change it quickly when necessary. Although in this file I set the icons also beforehand. When we come back to the home screen, we see we have this navigation that I use in most of my files. Since it is a placeholder navigation, it doesn't have any links. That's why I use a menu button, since placing links under a secondary menu on desktop resolution and wasting valuable space, it doesn't make sense, right? I also have this banner stack with full width and viewport height and has a fixed position to keep it on the screen while we scroll and change its variant that has the related icon depending on the section in the view. I also have this sections wrap stack, although I have only one section right now. Since we're gonna make it a component, duplicate it and have more sections, I wanted to keep the structure tidy, and all the content is generated by ChatGPT as in the previous tutorials. And lastly, I have this sample bottom or footer section, since in a real world design we would have something similar with a background that has a gradient from background color to transparency, as you see in its field properties. This is the background color, and this color dot doesn't have any opacity, so it goes to full transparency. And in the preview, when we scroll down, we can see its gradient on banner cards, which creates a nice effect, right? We're gonna start building our file with turning the banner into a component. In the component screen, I will add a new variant to create the banner for the first content section, which needs to have the first card to be in its background. We also need to change the title in the banner for the second section, right? So I will select the text it has, since this is the most comfortable way for me to change within the current layer structure. I will paste the text, communicate errors clearly to its content box. Then I will make in interfaces text in this variant invisible by deleting it in this variant, but as you see, since it is included in the primary or the first variant, it only gets invisible when we delete it. But as we did in the previous tutorial, which you can find a link in the description for, we're gonna animate it using an in-between animation. So I will duplicate variant 2 and rename the original variant 2 as variant 2, the newest variant 3 as variant 2, since we're gonna use that in-between variant as the one to be switched in the scroll variant effect settings. Then I will place the new variant 2 above the 2 one and select the first card in this variant, and I will make its width 800 pixels, its opacity 0.05. And under transforms, by the way, as you see, I have some previously entered values here to create the 3D flip effect. So in this variant, I will make X rotation 90 degrees. Next, I will drag a connection from variant 2 to 221 and select trigger as appear and enter 0.5 seconds for delay. Then I will click spring next to transition, make time 2 seconds and bounce 0.1. Now that we have our transition settings between new variants for the first content section, we can move the background card to its place, right? So in variant 2, I'm gonna select the first card, make its rotation 0. I'll move it down with the arrow key to keep it in the card's wrap frame. And I'll place it right under the bottom edge of the card wrap frame and align it horizontally. Then under transforms, I will enter 360 for all of its rotation values, again to make the animation a little more interesting. Since all the transition settings are applied to the first card, we can go back to home screen and create the scroll variant effect for the banner component, right? But before that, we need to create our sections first, since we're gonna switch banner component to the related variant for each section. So I will select section stack under sections wrap and make it a component. In the section component screen, I will select the text and click in the content. I'm gonna create a formatted text variable. And since we don't need the down arrow icon in other sections, but only in the first one, I will create a new variant. And then in the first variant, I'm gonna hide the icon to make it invisible in the primary variant. And of course, I'm gonna make it visible again in the second variant. Now I can go back to home screen and duplicate the section component. Then I can paste the text I've generated with ChatGPT. Then I need to select the first section and change its variant to make the icon visible in it. Now that we have all the sections we need, we can add scroll section properties to them that we're gonna use for scroll variant effect that we're gonna add to our banner, right? So I will select the second section and enter 2. We don't need a scroll section for the first section, since we're not going to use it in the scroll variant effect of the banner component. Then I will add a scroll section to the third one and the last one. Now we can add scroll variant effect to the banner component, right? After adding it, I will change trigger to section in view, and viewport is going to be center. And section is gonna be 2, and 2 is gonna be variant 2, since when section 2 is in the middle of the viewport, we want our banner component to switch to its variant 2. Now we can test the transition for the first section. So you will see when we scroll down to the second section, its card takes its place with a nice 3D flip animation, right? We can continue creating other variants. So in the banner component screen, I will select the first variant and duplicate it, since it is a variant that has all the icons in their original positions. I will rename it variant 32 and delete in interfaces text in this variant. Then I will select the text it has and change its content. Then I will duplicate it and rename the one I duplicated variant 3, since it is the one that we're gonna switch our component to, and I'll place it above the 321. In variant 3, I will select the second card, make its width 800, and again make its opacity 0.05, and make its X rotation 90 degrees. Next, we need to make our second card to take its place in the background, right? So in variant 3.2, I will select second card and drag it downwards to place it right under the cards wrap stack. It's already should be horizontally centered. And under transforms, again, I will make its all rotation values 360 to create a nice flip. Then all we need to do is drag in a connection from variant 3 to 321, selecting a PRS trigger and entering 0.5 second for the delay value. And under its transition settings, I'm gonna enter 2 seconds for time and 0.1 for the bounce. And I'm gonna create the last couple of banner component variants for our last section. Now that we have all the variants that we need for our banner component, we can go back to home screen and add new variants for the remaining scroll sections in the scroll variant effect, right? So I'm gonna click it in the scroll variant effect settings. I'm gonna add a new section. For section 3, we need our banner components variant 3. For section 4, variant 4. Now we can preview and we can see our cards take their places as we scroll down, right? With a nice 3D flip animation. I hope you liked the tutorial. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe, turn the notifications on, check my other tutorials, and see you in the next one.